Hello, everyone. This is Tim H. Mills, and I am your host with 10 with Tim. You can't beat that. 10 with Tim. I like saying 10 minutes is more than enough, but it's a quick 10 minutes. But we're just excited to be here. Today I have a special guest, thus I'm saying we, and I am broadcasting from the beautiful island of St. George in Florida. And with me is my very special guest, William Zick. Make him welcome, would you? Yeah. We're glad Will's here today. And Will is from Owensboro, Kentucky. I happen to be serving as a motivational speaker and a guest speaker here at the St. George Island Retreat Center in Florida. William's here from Owensboro, and we go way, way back, all the way back to high school. Will, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Tim. I'm glad to be here with you.
Well, it's exciting. We're out here in the land where dolphins swim, and we've seen dolphins and bald eagles, and it's what a unique place to be here in St. George Island, Florida.
It's definitely a little taste of heaven. I tell everybody that they just need to come and experience this place one time, even though it's a drive. When you get here, the serenity, the beauty that surrounds it, one can't help but touched.
Yeah. For you from Owensboro, Kentucky, 11 hours to get here. But again, I would concur with you. That's a great, great place. And Will, I want to get right into the program. 10 with Tim is really designed to be something of encouragement and motivation for those who are joining and tuning in on the broadcast. Tell me, when it comes to the words motivation and inspiration, what's the first thing jumps out at your mind?
Well, I would say that many people in life, I would say the majority of people in life are often inspired to do something, challenged, maybe an experience in their life, something that goes on, challenges them to want to do more, but too often people lack the motivation to actually do that. And maybe it's because they don't know how to do it. Maybe it might be out of ignorance. Maybe it's just they lack the people in their life who are encouraging enough to get them over the hump of what it takes to do something that is obviously greater than themselves. Because when you do something of inspiration, it obviously is bigger than you because it touches so many people around you. And so many people, to get to that point, would contribute that to a lot of the motivating factors that lie behind them from true, real relationships. That is so very important because most of our relationships are what I call passerby relationships, where it's, hey, how you doing? Good, how you doing? And we pass by with never a real interaction of any sort whatsoever. And I would say that would probably be 95% of our relationships.
So you're defining a combination of thoughts with motivation and inspiration. And you're basically saying that most of us probably in life are easily inspired, but we lack motivation.
Hey, absolutely. I mean, just sit in a speech, sit in a sermon. If you go to church, sit in a classroom. You know, that moment you get chill bumps, but those chill bumps last for such a short time, and that would be kind of an inspiration moment because you're feeling, wow, maybe I can do something bigger than myself. But you walk out of that setting totally unchanged or not knowing what the next step would be, and soon you say, well, I'm not sure the next step, and a year's already passed you by, and that moment of inspiration is gone.
So you would say that sometimes, sometimes you're going to say we need to just act upon our inspiration. We need to do something with what we're inspired about. But what are some things maybe that we could receive motivation from that maybe we overlook?
Well, I think we overlook people and their ability to motivate us in a lot of different ways. And a lot of times we say we want people's advice, but internally we don't really know if we really want that advice. And it's really truly accepting that and surrounding yourself with people who would be encouraging, who would be a positive motivator to push you over the top in that aspect. But to the people who would also speak truth in your life.
Wow.
And that's important because the truth aspect, we don't allow a lot of people to speak truth to us because we only want people to speak positive things. In the Christian movement, it would be the health and wealth movement. But we need somebody who will actually sit down with us and say, okay, this is going to be tough for you to swallow, but this is how I see you're going to get over the hump to the next step.
So you really see motivation coming in what old school, we used to use these words all the time. We'd say this is constructive criticism. You don't really hear people talk much about constructive criticism anymore, but what I'm hearing you say is that if we're going to use people to motivate us, that we have to be willing to allow people to invest into our lives or to share into our lives or to share things in our lives that may be things that we absolutely do not want to hear. Yeah,
absolutely. Because as I look at our relationship over a course of, let's just say it's been over a course of 20 years, and I'd say it's either 20 years or longer. There have been moments of truth in my life where I've had to sit down and I know the hard thing to do. I know what's going on, and I know what it's going to take to get to the next step. But for you to sit down with me and say, okay, William, this is it. You're not going to like what I'm going to have to say to you. But if you will take what I say to you, if you will digest what I say to you, and if you will act upon, the key word, act upon, what I say to you, then that will make a whole world of difference. And I know that many times in our relationship, over my course of high school, college, my first time in full-time ministry to the new adventures and what God's doing, is that there are times where I have to sit down and I have to be able to ask the tough questions, but also allow the tough questions to be asked to me. And to wrestle with that truth and that concept, because if I don't wrestle with it and people aren't real with me, then oftentimes I get a false sense of everything is going to be okay and not see the challenges that lie ahead.
I'm just curious, you've caused me to reflect back there. What do you think is the toughest thing you ever heard from me?
Oh.
In terms of me being a coach into your life, what's the toughest thing?
Well, if I could narrow it down to one, that would be fantastic. I mean, I can't count them all. I can't count them all on two hands. The tough conversations we've had. I mean, from our 2 a.m. meeting at Applebee's, maybe one night of just wrestling with, what to do with a family member and how to interact with family members, from being in college and saying, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I know I'm going to ministry, but I don't know what I do. And you say, well, I do. I'm going to be there tomorrow night to pick you up. We're going to an interview in Louisville. And trusting, I think the hardest part would be to trust the judgment of those. Wow. Do we really trust the judgment of the people who speak truth into our lives? And if we really trust it, do we see us gaining things so much bigger than who we are?
Well, I would certainly, I'm touched by your comments and your thoughts, obviously. And I guess, though, you're reminding me that when we invest into people's lives, us trusting those people, especially when we're in doubt or we don't know what the direction to go toward or what direction to even enter into, I guess that's the big thing, is saying, you know what, I'm just trusting them, knowing that they have my best interest. Those are real friendships. Those are real relationships. And maybe that's what we need, not only for inspiration, but for the motivation toward the things that already inspire us.
I would absolutely agree with that. And coming from a Christian perspective, obviously that's a huge part in my life, is we have to trust that God is putting people in our lives who are going to push us in the direction that we need to go. Did Elisha question Elijah when he put his cloak upon him? No, he went. He trusted that God placed him in his life to move forward, and he was willing to kill the cows and burn the plow and walk away.
Wow. Well, the audience is short-lived. We always try to live up to our deal, 10 minutes. What else would you say to the audience that's listening? Quick thought, poem, verse, anything about, being positively encouraged?
I would say be real. Be real with the people around you. Invest in the people around you. Love the people around you, and that will make all the difference in the world.
Well, this is Tim H. Mills, and you've been listening to 10 with Tim. And I'm so glad to be coming to you from St. George Island, Florida, where the dolphins are swimming. We're watching that as we record, and as we have an opportunity to go out in just a few moments and watch the oysters be collected that we'll be eating a little later in the night. From St. George Island, Florida, this is 10 with Tim. I'm your host, Tim H. Mills. Connect with me, TH Mills, on Twitter. And send me your emails at timhmills.com. It's always exciting to be here. Thanks, and God bless you for tuning in tonight.